Hello and welcome to Creatively Montessori. Today I'm going to discuss a few dinosaur books in case you are doing a dinosaur theme or want to know about some book options and whether or not they would be right for you to use in your homeschool setting, at home with your child that shows an interest in dinosaurs, or in a Montessori or childcare setting. I have these groups split up by How Do Dinosaurs grouping. So I have Say Goodnight, Eat Their Food, Play with Their Friends, and Say Happy Birthday. There are a lot of these books by Jane Yolen and Mark Teague. They are really all about social skills, and they all start out the same: what not to do and then what to do. So we tend not to focus on the negative. We tend to try and focus on the positive, but I do like how these are presented, and they're all pretty quick and easy reads. So these are just a few samplings I have. I have some that are in board book format and some that are in paperback format, but the pictures are the same, and I believe the stories are the same. I don't think in the board books they cut anything out. These are the fiction books. I Want to Be a Great Big Dinosaur is actually a really cute book. It's by an author from Australia. I particularly like the artwork he does. It's about a little boy who dresses up like a dinosaur, and then all of a sudden a dinosaur appears, and he wants to be a dinosaur, so the dinosaur teaches him how to be a dinosaur, to roar, to stomp, to eat, and then the boy introduces the dinosaur to different foods, so peppers and sushi and spaghetti and nachos, all kinds of food. And then, do dinosaurs like to read? No, which is upsetting to this little boy. So I love that part because I love to read. And then the dinosaur learns how to play soccer and play video games. And then the dinosaur decides that maybe he wants to be a little boy, and in the end, they decide to play together. Dinosaur is a little boy, and little boy is a dinosaur. So there was just something very charming about that book. Dinosaur Bob and His Adventures with the Family Lizardo, you definitely could do as a read aloud with a primary classroom, but it is quite lengthy. The pictures are lovely, but the text is quite lengthy. Again, not unreasonable for a 3, 4, and 5-year-old, but not appropriate if you were working with toddlers. Again, completely made up story about a family who goes to Africa, finds a dinosaur. So not my favorite book, just kind of like I Want to Be a Great Big Dinosaur. We know oftentimes children are confused and think that dinosaurs and people lived at the same time. They find a dinosaur in Africa, they decide to bring it home to New York with them, and then the story is about the dinosaur living in New York, and the police officer of the town wants to send him back to Africa until he saves the baseball team and helps them win the game, a pennant, something like that, and then the dinosaur gets to stay. It is a little bit of a feel-good story because they problem solve, so I think there are some positive attributes to it, and it is an interesting read. It is well written. It just complete fantasy in terms of you wouldn't find a dinosaur in Africa with people, you couldn't get it back to the United States, just all of kind of those things. And then this book by Bernard Most is If the Dinosaurs Came Back. And this is about a little boy who absolutely loves dinosaurs, and he so desperately wants for them to come back. He imagines all the ways in which dinosaurs could or would do things if they existed nowadays. So although I like the pictures better in these two stories, this one I actually like the content a little bit better, because I think this would be so great to do an extension where each of the children or a small group of children comes up with, what would a dinosaur do? You could draw a picture, you can then have them tell you a sentence or two about what that dinosaur could do. So a dinosaur can help paint. You wouldn't need ladders anymore. They could get kites out of a tree. People could go hiking on them, skiing down their slopes, just a lot of things. And so it's a cute book. The Berenstain Bears and the Missing Dinosaur Bone. Again, simple story about the bear cubs helping Dr. Bear at a museum find a missing dinosaur bone. So cute story, very, very easy reader for, if you wanted to do a mystery with your child or in your classroom. But it's just a very typical Berenstain Bears book. I Love You, Snugglesaurus is written for a very young child. This is what I would use with an infant or a toddler. Do you jump up and down with your own feet. There's feet, and stomp and stomp to make a beat. So this one is very interactive, and so I like it for infants and toddlers, but I wouldn't use it with children older than that. And then the last grouping is a group of books that are informational. This one I included in, it's about archaeologists. It's not about paleontologists, which are the people that study dinosaurs, but I found this one really well done. And it, again, is very lengthy in text, so I think it would be very appropriate for 4 or 5, lower elementary, 6, 7, 8. But if you just read the story the first time through, it really does give you a really great idea of what archaeologists do and how they work and how detailed they are and kind of the scientific process. And then you could go back a different time and do all, read all of the speech blurbs. The first time you read it through, I think it's about 8 or 9 minutes. And then if you went back and did the speech blurbs, either with it or separately, obviously separately would be about the same time or longer if you read it with the text from the story. By the way, I have all of these on that are done as read alouds on my sister channel, Book a Day for Little Learners. If you want to hear the whole story, I do each story with comprehension questions and vocabulary building. And then we have Boy, Were We Wrong About Dinosaurs? This one I particularly liked because although it's drawn, there aren't photographs, because obviously there aren't photographs of dinosaurs, but it talks about what dinosaurs are and what we thought they were, and then what we now know. And the book is the author is very honest in saying, we could still be wrong. We might find out later that we think something now that is then wrong as well. So this was one of the books of the group I really liked the best. Dinosaur Explorer was another one that I particularly liked because it goes through in a very simplistic way. Here's how big a Tyrannosaurus Rex was, and just gives some easy facts to understand. So this one I just really liked. And then at the end, it asks, what do you think? And so it's comprehension questions to kind of do a check-in with the reader. Which 2 dinosaurs start with the letter T? And there's not an answer key where if they don't say 2 from the book, it's incorrect. And there's so many young children who just are fascinated by dinosaurs. You will get that little boy or that little girl who knows lots and lots of dinosaur names who might say 2 different ones of T-named dinosaurs that are not in the book. So this again was one of the books I liked the best. And then I saved my favorite for last, Dinosaur ABC for kids who really love dinosaurs. Now this one, surprisingly enough, is a board book. And so when I originally purchased it, I really did think it was going to be very babyish. It is not, and it is a very long read. So I think if I did it with really young children, I would probably break it into groupings and I wouldn't do it all at once. But you get into this where it's A is for Allosaurus. And again, it tells you the size, it gives you information on the meat eater, and it's told from the dinosaur's perspective, which is kind of funny. But I don't know, it's just written in a very friendly way. And then it does the phonetic, how it would sound. And so I just loved everything about this book. They were, again, more, although artist renderings, because we don't have pictures of actual dinosaurs, nobody really knows what they look like. Again, every single thing about this book I really liked, and there's one for every letter of the alphabet, and that's why 26 dinosaurs, it's quite long. But this again was my absolute favorite book. It's by Pretty Books. Pretty, P-R-I-D-D-Y. So this is just a grouping of dinosaur books that you can use, or you have a little bit more knowledge about, for you to use for your little one, or if you're looking for some extensions to do. I hope that this serves you well. The next grouping I'm going to do is Dr. Seuss books, so you can be checking my channel for that. Dr. Seuss's birthday is at the beginning of March, and so the month of March I'm going to be doing a thematic study using Dr. Seuss books, and each of those will also be on my sister channel, Book a Day for Little Learners, and so you can check those out there, and then come back here and see what I have to say and my thoughts on each of those Dr. Seuss books, and whether they're appropriate for an early childhood classroom or better for an elementary classroom. Thanks for joining me. I hope you liked the video. Click that thumbs up, and subscribe. If you hit the bell, you will then go ahead and be notified. I would love for you to tell me other dinosaur books that you think are must-haves, especially informational books that you think are imperative to have in a Montessori setting. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next time.